This is Adventure for Life. I'm Joel. Welcome to the Grenadier Expedition Namibia Synopsis videos. Literally thousands of seals on that beach. Hello, hello, hello. The following day, some of us got to do a four-wheeler ride out to the Himba village. And again, these were the Himba people are living like they've lived for, hundreds and thousands of years. And it was striking to be out in the middle of the sand and to see this village out there, and of course begged the question, why didn't you put your camp closer to the river? What's your water source? What about food? Those kinds of things. But they were very happy people and were very glad to have us there, and it was a joy to be in the Himba village and never, been in a place where there were people living like they've always lived. At least I haven't before that. We did so my daughter and I and some other people did the four-wheeler ride out there. On the way back, we drove one of the Grenadiers back, and some of the other people got to do the four-wheeler ride, and so videoed the long drive all the way back to Serikafema. It was a pretty drive. We got to go down that steep descent as we approached again. Hello! Hello! And then that night, we did our boat ride, actually two boats, over to the Angolan side of the Kanani River, had some drinks, had a little social time there, had some snacks and whatnot. Very enjoyable. Saw a couple of small, baby crocodiles out there. Didn't see any big ones, and for that I'm thankful because crocodiles scared me to death. Next day, day 6. It was a very sandy drive as we left, and we were back off into the sandy areas, and got to stop at the Hartmann's International Airport. If you remember that, it was to me it was just one of those things that made me want to smile, because obviously you got people flying into that airport, but just the general makeup of the whole thing, and to think that people were flying into that airport, to me was very funny to see the facilities they had there. Started the washboards, and we ended up driving on washboards, a fair amount the rest of the time, but this was an area that was wide open, and we did some washboard driving there. The Grenadier, by the way, handled it fantastically. Drove a little bit further down, took a stop, and we got to see some Namibian graffiti. So people had, taken rocks and put them together and with different, messages or whatever, Bob loves Sally or whatever it was out there. So that was interesting. Some of the washboards weren't just washboards, some of them were speed bumps. And so we got to go over a Namibian speed bump. And you may remember my daughter and I yelling as we went over, because we weren't really sure how well the bump was big enough. We weren't sure how the Grenadier was going to handle it. Whoops! Whoops! Watch out for those bumps. Introduce you to the Grenadier graffiti that had been growing over the trip. So as the dust collected on our Grenadiers, somebody decided that they were going to put their mark on their Grenadier. So those were really enjoyable to see those pop up and to progress over the rest of the trip. We saw the Namibian street sign, which, as you remember, I think was a 55-gallon drum with a bunch of rocks and other stuff in it, and a street sign pointing us to, I don't remember where. Got to see the Hartmann zebras. Now, again, this was another one of those things that the zebras were kind of far off, and so we had to expand the video, and you can't see them real well. But it was fun to see them. Of course, they were much smaller than what you normally think of as a zebra, because they're out there in the middle of the desert, and I guess that was part of what they needed to do to survive. Saw another wild ostrich all by himself out in the middle of nowhere, and that was a really, really cool thing. Later, so we're driving across the sand, and we were introduced to the first stone man of the Cocoa Land. And that was just a really, really interesting thing. So our guide told us that no one knew who was building these stone man of the Cocoa Land structures, and it was basically metal with rocks, hooked to it, and the men, quote unquote, were in different positions. And so we ended up seeing 3 or 4 or 5 of them during the trip. And so you'll see, some of them, they were all named and they had a number associated with them, but no one knew who was putting those out there. As we drove, we saw our first other vehicle sighting in about 3 days. And why do I make a big deal out of that? Who cares about some truck driving by? We were out there for roughly 3 days, and it was just us. We didn't see anybody else except for the people in the camp at Serikafema, and there was just something really cool about being in a place that remote. Got to the town of Puros, actually the town limit sign, and got to see some springbok, or as we nicknamed them, the Namibian Bambi, or really you could have nicknamed them Nambies, for Namibian Bambi put together. Drove through the town of Puros, wasn't much there. Begs the question again, what are these people doing out here? We had lunch in the riverbed under the Ana tree, and that was just very enjoyable to be down there in the riverbed, to be under that pretty large tree, and to enjoy a lunch together there. Started seeing giraffe. So again, this is middle of day 6, and so we spotted some desert giraffe. Did quite a bit of canyon driving, the rock cliffs on both sides of us, the riverbed driving. Again, I've always wanted to drive in riverbeds, and we got to do that for, most of probably 3 days while we were out there. So it was just very enjoyable to do that. Got to see a baboon for the first time, and so that was cool to see him out there. He couldn't have cared less about us. He was just doing his thing. Got to see the elephant, the first elephant sighting that we had, and it was a full family, as you remember. Maybe there were 4 adults and 2, we'll call them children, out there, and so that was cool. We got to see them up really close, and that was very enjoyable. And again, they weren't too excited about us being there, because I think lots of people, our cars are driving up and down that riverbed. We finally made it to the Huanib Wilderness Lodge, and were welcomed with about 10 or 12 singers, and they did such a great job. They made us feel so welcome. Okay, we didn't quite get this kind of welcome at the other lodge. This is pretty insane. They had big smiles on their face, and they sang several songs while we were arriving and kind of getting out of our vehicles, and it was just it was a great thing they did for us.